Okay, let's see. We got sound. Let's see what this person is asking. I happen to have the chat pulled up here. This is not what I'm gonna work on, but I did reply back to this person and they were asking about something here. Storage. Like to prevent accidental deletions of the project files. Interesting. Quite imagine what the scenario is where you want the storage visible, but you don't have CircuitPy on it. I guess what does it do? Maybe it reads other files from there. You don't want people to change those files. Interesting. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it must be possible, but I don't know exactly how. So this person's initial ask was basically, how can you freeze BootPy or CodePy into a build of CircuitPython so that essentially you won't be able to change the code without updating the build. And importantly, it sounds like in their case, you wouldn't be able to accidentally delete CodePy, for instance, accidentally or purposefully. Wouldn't be able to delete CodePy because it wouldn't be on the drive. Final project is going to be fully open source. Interesting. Keep it clean. I guess maybe they're making a keyboard or something like that, and they could have their own custom build, which is not meant to just run CodePy generically like all the others. Yeah, that's an interesting use case. I don't know how you would do that, but I guess it's probably possible. Maybe grep the CircuitPython repo for the string CodePy. Main C. Where's that file? I guess I wish I could. Oh, I'm not Q. I wish I could override git grep to always run -n. Whenever I run git grep, I always want it to add a -n, but I don't want to have to type it. That would be nice. So this is where it's finding CodePy. Well, this is where it has a list of files to use for CodePy. CodePy status. I was going to say, if you can find where the code finds CodePy and then tells it to run, you could just hard code, instead of looking for the CodePy file and reading it and executing it, you could just hard code it to, I guess, read it from somewhere internally, read it from the frozen library directory or something. CodePy. Just run. Anyway, it's definitely a bit of a rabbit hole. This person put an entire like message in the responses there. Still connected. If connected at start, then write new line. Print CodePy status message. Print safe mode message. Safe mode. Printed safe mode message true. Execution result. Makes a list. Also makes a list. Why we have oh, interesting. Okay. We'll do TextPy ones too. Stack resize, flush, allocation, pair the VM. Check if a different code file. On main. Main. And up after VM. Program has finished running. I didn't actually see anything where it seems to like we have found main. I don't see where it runs, what it found. I guess is this? Found main? I don't know what that would do. It's by itself there, huh? I guess probably somewhere around here, but I don't actually know for sure, and I don't know this person's level of experience, so I don't know. They don't have much experience, probably poking around here might be a little bit too in-depth. I mean, they're gonna have to figure it out though if they want to make custom builds, I suppose. Anyway, enough of that rabbit hole, I think. That was just the question that I happened to be looking at when I, right before I was getting ready to stream here. Really, this is what I am gonna start with today on the stream is testing out this build that KMatch has created in a new PR on the core for basically keeping the error messages in the REPL. It turned out that this split screen PR, which I actually talked about on a previous stream, and I did a whole stream where I played with the outcome of this, where we have half the screen as the REPL and half the screen as the display IO. That's what this PR here enabled. It turns out that it also, though, caused it to remove the contents of the terminal whenever CodePy got done running or crashed in this case, which means that like if CodePy crashed and raised an exception, it would print the exception, but then it would get immediately cleared and you wouldn't be able to see it on the display. And actually this did ring a bell. It turns out we saw this on the stream the other day, and I think I mentioned offhandedly, I feel like this is happening, but I don't know the pattern behind it or something like that. And thank you to Dexter. Dexter submitted the issue onto the core repo instead. Like I just kind of mentioned it in passing. I never did go back and create an issue, but Dexter did. And KMatch started looking into it. Dan looked into it a little bit as well, and I think we have an idea of what we want to do to fix it, and KMatch has made a new PR with the fix in it. So we're going to build that. We're going to drop it onto a couple devices and try out some basic code, try out some code that will make it crash, make sure we could see the error message, and leave a review on that PR. And then afterwards, there's some other PRs I think I'll take a look at as well. But this will be mostly in the core, I think. This one is in the core. The other one I have in mind is in the core if we get done with those, I may poke around with some actual issues that I found in the core as well. So that's kind of the plan for today. So I have, let's close a couple of these. I have CircuitPython repo open to this branch. Trial REPL, turns out, is the name in that PR. PR number 6076 for folks that are interested. So I did a GH PR checkout, although I guess it's probably covered up by all of this stuff now. It's back up there somewhere, but I'm on the branch for that PR. So we're going to build the PyPortal is what I have loaded up first. So I'm going to build the PyPortal. And I think I ran this build a little while ago, but I don't remember for sure. We might as well make a new one and just make sure that it's actually building the right thing, although that went way too fast, so maybe we'll do a clean also. That probably means I just made it earlier, and it's already there, and it realized that it hadn't changed. That's my guess, but let's let it actually do a build here, just because I'm not actually sure that I had the right branch checked out and all that stuff whenever the last build got made. Gonna do that. And for the code, let's plug in. Whoops. Sorry, hopefully that wasn't too loud. Accidentally bumped the microphone. Maybe I need to raise the microphone higher. Is it in the camera frame also, actually? No. How much room do I have? If I raise it up in there? It's out of the frame pretty well, actually. Try it like this. I'm probably less likely to bump into it this way. It's also a little more in front of my mouth, so maybe it will pick up a little more clearly. Let me also, in my Twitch here, I had the preview running, but it's just in Restream. So I wasn't seeing Twitch chat. Let's do that. All right. Okay, so I'll try to keep an eye on the Twitch chat for folks that might be watching. If you're interested, you can ask questions or comments or anything else there in the Twitch chat. And this is all this ongoing discussion about memory, help with room, unsupported operation. Okay, know about that stuff. Let me shrink this up a little bit so I can actually see both things here. While that's running, let's go ahead and put some code on our PyPortal. So what I have right now actually is something that TechTrick worked on, which was this sort of automatic effect of this dial gauge needle that makes it kind of go back and forth there, sort of simulating a throttle, which I'll keep, but we do need some different code for testing this PR. Mostly what we want is something that will fail and print an error message. So we're going to call this code dial throttle. Put that in there. And I think there's sample code in one of the repos. Honestly, I think it was just like a divide by 0, and that's it though. Let me catch up here. Somebody maybe is in the live broadcast. Oh, I scrolled super far. To present. Hey Johnny, how's it going? Took me a minute to get caught up there. I was looking for some of the old show and tells to try and find something a little earlier, so I had scrolled my live chat super far back. So this, I think there is reproducer code in one of these issues, but honestly, if I recall right, it was just, I think just divide by 0 and that's it. Maybe print or something. Oh yeah, both. Okay, so print something and then divide by 0. So we'll do that. All right, and I'm already connected on TO, and so we are seeing the correct error here. And on the screen, what we see though is that that error didn't get printed. So that's what this PR hopefully will fix for us, is which this is done building. So let's go bootloader mode, double click, Try this on the Feather TFT afterwards as well. That way we have two different ports that we're working on. That we're testing out with, at least I should say. I think this is in build. Yeah, build. CP, firmware. Let's do that thing where that folder got deleted, but the terminal doesn't realize it. Okay, portal. Yeah, it sure did. Okay, CP firmware. UF2 is gonna go to media. TMC. Portal boot? Portal boot? Yeah. Yes, I think I got the mods figured out on YouTube. I did not actually open the YouTube up today, but I do believe I got you added over there. Oop, now I can hear myself. Let's close that. Yeah. I will, oh, I should look. Actually, let me do that. Let me do that now real fast. Just take a quick peek. Is there a pop-out chat? Yeah, pop-out chat. Can this stay open even if this is closed? Yeah, it looks like it. Hello from pop-out chat. Send. Okay, what is, can I get rid of this thing? More? Doesn't look like it. Get this pop-out chat, I would... Pop chat? Maybe this? No. Pop chat or live chat? Total timestamp, send feedback. Oh, there's a manage moderators, even from here. Interesting. I don't know what this, this feels like a pop-up that you would be able to close, but it doesn't have like an X or anything. Hey there, Hybrid Robotics, thank you. Appreciate the kind words there in the YouTube chat. So I will, what I'll try to do is for Saturdays, I will pull in the chat. Right now I just have the, I don't think I have the chat on, do I? Yeah, no, right now I just have the screen overlaid with my camera. What I'll do though is I'll make a new OBS input that pulls this thing, this chat window, and puts it into the stream, like we have the Discord one as well over there. So I'll figure that out hopefully before this Saturday. And then I think Fridays when I take over on deep dives, because that's coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. Scott's going to be heading out for parenting duty. So he won't be doing deep dives for a while, at the very least. And I think I'll pull the YouTube chat in there as well. That's like, I think the way that he does it is he's got both Discord and YouTube. So we'll try to keep that the same. For deep dive, I'll try to sort of match. I don't have all the same angles and all the same scenes and everything, but we'll try to keep, fairly close to the idea. We'll get both chats and all that stuff in there. So we copied this and looks like it rebooted. Sneak key. I don't actually see the error. Oh. Well, that was weird. Was it just not done rebooting yet? It was just at the very tail end of reboot. I don't know. I caught it at just the right time. It feels like that was it's like that waited a while before it actually showed, but what? Let's try just... Okay, so we got it instantly here. These work. Hello. Yeah, that looks good. So let's run this. Yeah. It looks fine. I don't know. I must have just caught it at the very tail end. I just felt like I waited longer for it to copy than I must have actually done, or something. We just caught it right when it was refreshing. But we do get our divide by 0. We can actually see it on the screen now. We see the print message from before as well. I think there's a photo of 630 behavior or 700? 711. We're done running. So we're kind of doubled up. We have all the same stuff. Is it doubled up? Okay, let's go back to here. We could zoom in though. We could get the big one. Let's. Too bad I can't scroll down. I guess I can just push this up some. So okay, let's try a couple of different things here actually. CodePy. Trying to make it do something a little different so that I can actually tell. We'll have this print 10 times, then we'll do this. So we should see like a long line of hello worlds. Yeah. Okay. I think maybe we just didn't have. It was only printing once and then raising the error. And so I think we just saw the previous run through from up above just because it didn't scroll very much. Is it? Well, is this one doubled up? This line I do see is duplicated. Let's look in the changes. What are the actual changes here? If we can spot anything that... Oh, right. So this just adds the Boolean to when we construct the terminal. And the Boolean tells it whether or not to reset the tiles, basically. Which is what was causing it to get erased before. So when it... I assume this is probably when it first gets created. Yeah, the very first time, it does reset the tiles, which makes sense. There shouldn't be any, but if there are, if it's being created, then we don't want to keep them. We got rid of stop terminal, which this is inside display show, which it turns out gets called when CodePy finishes, due to an exception at the very least. We no longer stop. Construct, so this has an extra argument as well. It's our reset tiles. If statement surrounding this for loop makes it so that it will only do it if this is true. And this is what is going through and resetting all the tiles back to 0, which would have been probably what was deleting them, I assume. Deleting all the text that was there. Reset tiles, defaults to false. Reuse the previous allocation if possible. In which case, reset trials is true. If not. Interesting. I wonder if this should be else. Maybe there's a reason why it's like that. Set tiles goes to true, and then it sets this to reset tiles. So basically, it defaults to false if either of these two things happen, then it resets it to true. Then it puts it to true. It makes it equal to true, and then whichever one it is gets passed into here. And so if neither of these two happen, then it would stay false. Although it does look like one of these two has to happen, right? It's got to be... Well, I'm not sure, I guess, how C... I'm not very experienced with C. I don't know how it treats single things. Reading this as how Python would interpret it, though, I think these are opposites, basically. One of them has to be true. This does also return, though. which would stop it from going on, which would mean that it wouldn't go down to here, I guess. Okay. So there is nothing like doing the actual printing in this change. This is just the Boolean telling it whether or not to clear, which makes sense. So we're not, even if we are getting one of these lines doubled up, it's not like there's just some spot in the code where it's like accidentally has it do it twice. In this code, at least. Interesting that they're in the like opposite order as well. Like this one has the error and then code done running. Then we get another code done running, and then the error comes after it in a soft reboot. Need to use the if-else construct. The clocks will always. Yeah, what I was thinking. We don't have the error. Oh, okay. So we retained actually. This is like somehow stuck in there. Yeah, that I think we'll have to fix. I don't think. I don't think because if someone saw this, they would assume there's an error in the current code, but there's not actually an error anymore. We got rid of it. It's different than the REPL too. So we got our 3 prints, but then we got code done running 3 times and our old error message. Oops. So it's I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's keeping some portion of the old terminal. When was that merged? Once. Alright, so we're going to put 711. Just get a feel for what all gets printed. Oh, that's weird. Oh no, our portal died. Well, supposedly there may be new pi portals sometime before too long. All in one. ESP32S2, I guess, or S3 maybe. We should be back to, yeah, 711. I wonder. Why the stop terminal got removed. So I will say I don't necessarily follow 100% of what all is going on. I mean, stop terminal, start terminal makes sense to me. It's unclear to me when all this method gets called. I would have thought before it was when you call display.show, but it also happens internally when the code crashes, raises an exception. And it seems odd to me that we would not want to stop it, but it could make sense just because I don't actually know what it's doing. Yeah, totally agreed, Seagrover. Capacitive touch would be awesome. I know K-Match is working, speaking of K-Match, that's who made this PR. K-Match is working on some capacitive touch input stuff as well. I want to pick up a capacitive screen. We actually have a library that works with it already, which I didn't realize before. There should be a way to exit the REPL without having to close the terminal window. To close the terminal window. Well, yeah, Control D. Yeah. Quit I didn't know worked, but that makes sense because it's in CPython as well. Quit. I don't know, what will it do? She'll just be done with the REPL. Oh, no quit on this one. I don't know. What's the use case for like when would you want to stop the REPL but not start the CodePy? I feel like if you don't have the REPL and you don't have CodePy, then like basically you're not really communicating with the device anymore. There's really nothing else that you could tell it to do. So if you close the REPL and don't restart the CodePy, it would just sit and wait, I guess. But it could sit and wait when it's in the REPL too. So there's no, I'm not sure I see the upside, I guess, of like explicitly exiting the REPL as opposed to just letting it sit and hang on waiting for input. Okay, so I want to try putting this back and see if we still get the thing that was making it keep the old error message. I have no idea if it will or not, or if it actually even affects the behavior. It's just kind of a hunch, but I'm gonna give it a try. And then if this doesn't make any difference, we'll just undo it and then try to document on the PR the series of steps we followed and the outcome of it, which was that it continues outputting the old error message even after you change the code. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at, kind of, I think, Johnny, is like there's no. If neither the REPL nor the CodePy are running, then basically nothing is running. You may as well just unplug it or, again, just let it sit as though it's waiting for a REPL, but just never send it anything. Oh, we didn't get it. Let's go double tap that and copy this. Get to it fast enough. Alright, so now. Oh, this may have had some other adverse effect. Maybe I should open a separate. Maybe I should keep this by itself. So I keep resizing it and then resizing back. No, okay, so we're not actually seeing the prints anymore. It's weird. That's definitely not what we want, so we should go undo this. That's weird. In the previous iteration of this, well, I guess there wasn't a previous iteration. When I was testing this before the PR, just on main, tinkering in this file, I thought I had, or so I had just removed them both, I guess. Yeah, I had removed them both. I had tried with one or the other. Maybe we'll remove this one. What that ends up doing. That was one thing I tested from main. Copy that over. I don't see any prints here either. Maybe it's not running the first time? I feel like it's scrolled really far too. Like we have hello world, hello world, hello world, code done running. I wonder why, because we have soft reboot is on. This is not printing the whole thing. Okay, so this is maybe part of the same issue as showing the error. So it says soft reboot is on, simply save files over USB to R. And then the next line doesn't continue. The next line starts a whole new sentence. Press any key to enter REPL. It's this part here. So soft reboot is on. We don't actually have here in the serial, but we do on the display. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So let's put some of our findings here. Whoops. I mean, when you go to the REPL from an OS terminal, there's no way to exit the REPL unless you close the terminal window. I see. Because, like, I guess it depends how you connect to it. In TO, which is how I connect to it, Control T Q will disconnect you. But that's definitely a TO specific thing. Like, that's what they print here. I do see, though, like, Control D typically would be the way that you do that, I guess, right? Like, if it's SSH, for instance, or even just like SU, change users, then Control D like breaks you out of the one that you're currently in. So I guess, yeah, I think I do see maybe what you're saying. It's like the Control D kind of consumes the CircuitPython Control D kind of consumes the OS's standard Control D behavior for terminals. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Control D does restart the current code. The app that I'm using to connect to here, though, is called TO. And so in this one, Control T and Q. So you press Control T and then press Q, and it will disconnect you like this. And this is how you reconnect, is you go TO and then you tell it the port. Yeah, this is the terminal. I like it quite a bit. It's got a bunch of different options. I really like the way that it does the auto reconnecting. It's especially useful if you're like loading new versions of CircuitPython and stuff on your device. Okay, so let's leave a little bit of feedback, I think, on this. Let's just say how we can recreate what we're seeing, and then we'll keep poking around at figuring out a fix. All right, we're testing this out on a PyPortal. Testing this out on a PyPortal. And I think seeing extra things. printed into the printed on the display. After they no longer should be. No longer should be. That's not quite the best, most eloquent way to put that, but I think once I explain this scenario, it'll make more sense. So let's see. Following these steps. Maybe put the steps in a little list thing here, but maybe we'll do it after the code. Code part contains this. Okay, it runs automatically first time upon power up, which this part seems okay. Disconnecting and reconnecting also affected. No, yeah, something funky is going on because we're getting this code done running a bunch of times, and this one here has Hello World only 2 instances instead of 3. Okay, we're getting different behavior now. Okay, I'm gonna actually power it. So let's go all the way off, power it up. Okay, so yeah, I guess let's go one thing at a time. When it first powers up, it's scrolling too far. Because we should still be able to see our prints, but we can't. Let's just say seeing some odd behavior. Let's see, but all of the hello worlds were visible briefly, but got scrolled off. Top edge. I'm going to worry about the steps since it seems like the steps are not reliable anyway. We'll just try to document the things that we find that are weird. So we go to REPL, we make a divide by 0, go back to CodePy. Now we see our 3 hello worlds, but we still see the division error and a REPL prompt. So I'm going to go Control C again to go back to the REPL and then just Control D. So we didn't do a divide by 0 this time, but it still shows the divide by 0 error. Okay, so is that consistent? So unplug, plug it in. First time it gets scrolled up. So far it's still the same. Control C, divide by 0. Control D. We still see it now. Control C one more, and Control D again. Yeah, we still see it. Okay, so that part we might have found the consistency on. Too many tabs open. Okay, CodePy runs automatically the first time upon power up, but all of the hello worlds get scrolled off the top of the display, leaving none of them showing. They were visible briefly, but scrolled off the top edge. Control C. Go to the REPL. Make this lowercase. I think that's more common just to see Control plus C. Press Control C to go to the REPL. Exception message as expected. I don't know exactly if I was still talking about TO when you asked. I didn't see when you asked about is that Linux, but I do. TO does definitely work on Linux. I don't know for sure if it works on other platforms or not. This raises the error and prints the exception message as expected. Then press Control D, go back to code.py. At this point, I see some of the hello worlds. I also still see the divide by 0 error, which was from the previous REPL instance. Previous REPL state run instance. REPL instance, I guess. Okay, so let's run through that again and then get a screenshot of the final one, because I did it one extra time here. Let's just do it the one time, which is where we're at in the post here. So we plug this in, scroll off the top. Got too many pie charms. Control C once, divide by 0, Control D. Yeah. Oh, merged. Oh no! Oh, I was too late. Well, hmm. It's in the REPL. Continue to see divide by 0 error each time, even though I'm no longer running the code that caused it. It looked like 3 or 4 vertical zones were pointing to different locations in the text screen buffer while strolling. Let's try back on 711. And just be sure it's definitely not doing it back there. I'm pretty sure, because we did that earlier. Let's just make sure we don't get... It's almost... I almost feel like it's... There's like a section of it that it's saving. And that section of it is getting shown over top of maybe some stuff that shouldn't, or is getting scrolled to the wrong part or something. That's what it feels like to me, is there's like a section of the tile grid that is getting kept when it's supposed to be either getting replaced or written over or scrolled up off the top and then more stuff put below it. This is interesting that this keeps showing new ones of these. It's not gonna like, they're not there, right? Those are not actually there. That's just like my computer not knowing. Okay. We're back to 711. Where's our camera? Camera. Man, having screenshots open is tricky. Yeah. Okay. All right. We don't necessarily need to edit. I was going to throw in an extra screenshot of 711, but we did. Went ahead and pinged Dan on the chat there, and we got him. I do want to do this though. Where's my camera? I need to make like some hotkeys that will just like put these two windows up in the right spot. But I guess how would it ever know which PyCharm window I want? Like I have 3 or 4 PyCharms open right now. Oh, only 2 actually. I'll have to figure that out. That would be nice if I had some kind of like, what do they call that? Stream Deck looking thing that would manage my windows and pull the right ones up for me. Okay, so this ran the first time, and it is different because it does not scroll off the top. Maybe we should add that. Oh, I don't know, it's probably fine. But if we go Control-C, and then divide by 0, and then Control-D, so we see it still, but it's scrolled up, and our new stuff is below it. And if I do it again, Control-C, Control-D, now it's scrolled all the way off, so we don't see divide by 0 at all. So it's getting pushed up correctly in this one, 711. And if I keep doing it again and again, it will keep getting pushed up, and we'll still never see 0. Divide by 0 error, unless if we actually do another divide by 0. And then we see it at the bottom, and we go Control-D, and it scrolls up. I did 1 extra Control-C, so we have an extra prompt, but otherwise it just continues scrolling up. Yeah. Okay, so actually on to my next hunch, which was, what if we just take this out? Because I noticed on the original issue, I thought that I had better behavior when I removed both of these. Why did that not build? Not updated. This didn't save, I see. Yeah. I'm sorry you feel that way, but it's not It's not a thing that we need to discuss in the chat of this video here. Johnny, if you're still around, do you know how to remove a comment? I have these little 3 dots here and I click remove underneath them. But the comment doesn't actually go away. Do I need to explicitly make myself a moderator? But if these are not comments, I guess they're chats. YouTube, how to... No, I'm a mod already. What is this remove? This remove just doesn't do anything. Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate it. I don't know. I'll have to... That's another thing I'll have to do, is learn how to use the controls. It might be like a browser or an OS problem as well. Like every now and then I still run into weird stuff where it's just like my version of Linux and browsers just doesn't like stuff sometimes. Okay. Hopefully we can find a way. I'm gonna try this. So if we comment this out, okay, this built, go to bootloader. Copy that. Okay. So to, oops, wrong one. That was weird. I think it ran a second time. But it seems okay now. So let's go here. Seems okay here. Divide by 0. Control D. Yeah, so this is scrolled up. And these are down here. Control D, scrolls again, and we see hello world, hello world. I can't. Can I link to here? Gonna try the split screen. How's it going, Gordy G? Gonna try the split screen REPL. Okay. How's your day going, Gordy G? Got anything fun going on today? Got the day off or you got to work? Let's see. Shuffle a couple of these back around here and find the Twitch chat window. I'll try to keep an eye on it as well. Let's put that back. Okay, so one thing is now this seems to be fine for normal, everyday, raised an error, printed some stuff, REPL, errors and everything. All of this seems to be working as normal right now. So what I'm gonna do is test the split screen stuff, because this PR, for a little bit of the history, right? This PR was fixing a thing which we think ultimately got included in this PR here. And the point of this one, the main thing this one was bringing us, was the whole split screen REPL idea. Whereas it's hard to tell here because there's nothing on the top half. Oh, it'll keep going actually, yeah. Eventually it'll show something, I think. So we have REPL on the bottom half and then display IO on the top half. And so that's what this PR was originally all about. So let's make sure that that still works as intended. In fact, we could use this, maybe? Yeah, we might as well try this. I'll try some other code as well from the REPL. We might as well try this too. I wish this would keep CircuitPy open. I think it closes it when I have it unplugged or disconnected or something. Let's put this back. There's no attribute splash. Oh, I think we called it, yeah, it got changed originally from, and actually, is there an updated version of this? There it is, yeah. It's this one. I think it's like root, yeah, root group instead of splash. All right, so we got split, we're printing, showing that we're scrolling off the top. There's our display IO portion. We're printing some more to show that it's still scrolling correctly. Ending the code. Press any key. Go to the REPL. So I guess maybe the one argument you could make is like, well, maybe two parts actually. For one thing, we seem to have jumped to the top half instead of the bottom half. It's a little weird. Hey there, QBRXR. Appreciate the follow there on Twitch. Which line? It is the start. Oh yeah, I guess it didn't highlight very well. Okay, let's do this. All right. And let me shuffle. I gotta need to figure out a good way I can lay out all the windows, all the chat windows, and actually see them all. Keep kind of like juggling between them. So we did switch to the other half, which I think is weird, but not necessarily the end of the world. We are still half size, which I also think is kind of weird, but also not necessarily the end of the world, right? The user in this CodePy called reset terminal and told it to make the terminal half the height. So it's staying in the last size that it was in from this reset terminal function. If we at this point said import supervisor and then go supervisor.reset terminal and gave it the full size, which is, I'm just going to hard code 320 and 240, which is basically the values it's getting here from the display, and then cutting the height in half. So if we ran this, we are back to full size, but can no longer see anything. I see. Splash group, make it half. So that part, I guess, actually, that part's not right. Okay, let me try. So many files in here. Let me try 720, but I don't. Yeah, let me try that one, 720. Let's see if this behaves the same. So this is without the new PR and without any of the other fixes or anything. This is so weird that it lists all of these. Can't refresh because this thing consumes F5. Yeah, there we go. I just needed a refresh. So this is with the original PR that allows the split screen, but without the fix. And so then with the problem where it doesn't show you your error output afterwards. But I'm curious what it does if we let it finish. Okay. All right, I see. So this is actually better. This is better when it finishes because it went back to full size. And it's visible. And I mean, we should be able to import supervisor. So what happens if we run this? Reset. Interesting. So one thing is, it keeps working. Okay. Let us try with this back. See how this one behaves. So I'm just going to try to like hone in on one specific part of the behavior. And then maybe that will tell us what each thing does. Set the positioning. Okay. Seemed like an awfully quick build. I don't know if I trust it, but we'll give it a try. All right. What happened? I think it ran again. We get to here. Okay. And one more. The end. Okay. So this one is basically the current main, essentially. Didn't mean to minimize that. Why this thing wants to stay open. Okay. Yeah. So here's where we're seeing those repeated lines. In this case, it's not the error, it's when I printed something else, but we are seeing still the repeated lines. Whoops. And our soft reboot is even weirder than it was before because it only has the word soft reboot. But we definitely are seeing that part repeated. That makes sense. So the problem is then the fix. What does this do? Okay. That seems to work fine. Okay. So removing this line fixes our problem with showing repeated sections of the old terminal. But also causes it to behave weird after CodePy finishes. And specifically, the two things are it seems like we should expect that after CodePy finishes, whatever changes got made to the terminal inside of it should get reverted. It should go back to default. Full screen occupying the whole thing, except for the Blinka. And if we take this out, then instead what happens is we keep the same size. This is why it switched. This is why it switched to the top. Yeah, this is totally why it switched to the top. So we kept the same size, and we moved the position to 0, 0, which then meant the top left. So that's why our bottom half REPL jumped top half. And then the next problem was when we called reset terminal again, we just totally lost the terminal altogether. Probably, I guess, because it got stopped and then never started. Maybe the code assumes it will get started from here. So let's go back to self.width and height. I wonder if we could just set CircuitPython splash.width equals .height equals. Instead of calling start terminal, maybe we could just set the size back, but then we still have the problem of reset not working. Okay, so comment this out. We're gonna make the build. We're gonna try it. We're gonna see what it does after our CodePy finishes. We're gonna go to bootloader. Hey there, Gordy, sorry, I was actually had Discord up to the other channel for a little while there, so I actually didn't see a bunch of these. Got the day off, nice. On call for phone service, had a couple calls, yeah. We split in interactive mode. Yes, we can split in interactive mode. I see that was a little while ago that you mentioned it, but we can, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Let's go here. Copy the firmware. Yeah, being able to split in interactive mode actually is like, I think, one of the coolest things about this. I think we'll be able to make some really interesting display I/O beginner content, like videos that show how display I/O works step by step, and like how changing all the different properties makes different stuff happen. Let's go back to here. Whoops. So yeah, let's I'll do that for just a minute. So let's go back. So let's go to REPL, and then I actually have a helper library that I created that uses this functionality called Screen Splitter. I don't know that I published it anywhere. I should. So it just has this helper method split screen. Really all this does is create a new group and reset the terminal to half the size, and then move it to the bottom half, and then return the group that it added for the top half. So it's kind of like a helper function that splits it and creates a group that you can just start adding to. So you can do something like this. From screen splitter import split screen. And then you just call it split. Oh, we need the display. So we'll also go import board. And then we'll go display IO group equals split screen display board dot display. Okay, so now it says we resized it, we moved it. So now our interactive portion is on the bottom. So if we go like for I in range 10, can't range 10 that way, can you? Range is a function. There we go. So now we do this. This will scroll off. Of course, now we actually have it scrolling off anyway. Okay, so that shows we're on half. And then now I have that group. That display I group, I can start adding stuff too. So if I go like from Adafruit display text dot bitmap label import label. Now I can go L equals label. I need one more actually. Import terminal IO. Yeah, just that. So L equals label terminal IO dot font text equals hello Gordy. Let's see, make sure I spell it right. Gordy. G. And let's give it a scale 2. Okay, so we'll make that. And then now we still have that old group, display IO group. We can go append L. And now it's showing on there. The default Y positioning for labels is half height. So I like to use anchor positioning typically. So I'll say actually L dot anchor point equals, let's make it 0.5 and 0.5 and 0. L dot anchored position equals let's call it display width over 2, so 320 over 2, and then I don't know, maybe just 10 pixels from the top. So that moves us centered horizontally and 10 pixels down from the top. And then we can keep adding more things, we can keep moving things around, and we get to see the REPL and the display IO group. So this is actually like, I'm super interested in making some basic display IO content that uses this. So that way you can see the code that's running and the output all on one screen for folks to kind of follow along with to learn the basics. So that does work, and so that gets us to here. Let's go, what should we do from here? Let's go, well, what's in our CircuitPy? Still prints for loop with 3? In the second group? Not sure what you mean in the second group. It might have been a response to something I said, and now I'm just forgetting, but so we do still have this, so let's go Control D. Gets us back to here. So at this point, what has happened is we kept the terminal the same size, but it got moved to the top half, 0, 0, instead of what we had before, which was half height. And it's just up there. So it's still the half size, and it's just on the second, only the top half of the display. Supervisor. What's weird though is why can we not run this? We should be able to run this, I think. Now it's just gone. Oh, hey. Now we can see a teeny tiny bit of it. Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Huh. We got it back. Size is weird. That wouldn't be 100 pixels out of 240 is less than half, but we have at least half showing. It's backwards? Maybe should it be 240, 320? Gone again. $40? 320? Oh, still gone. But 0, 0, we can see it. Just only a tiny bit. Well, no, now we're back to half. Very weird. Oh. Can't use tab. So we see more, but it's not printing everything, really. Okay. I will be right back. I'm gonna run to the restroom, and then I'm coming back. Keep playing with this. Okay. I think that... Oh, Cali girl is here. I gotta go feed the outdoor cat. I'll be back again. Otherwise, she's just gonna scratch the glass. Okay. Now we're back for good. Hopefully. We have a outdoor cat that hangs out between my house and my neighbor's house, and she sleeps in the neighbor's basement, I think, most times. And we've had snow for the last couple of days, so she hasn't been outside. We haven't seen her. But whenever she is outside, she'll come over to our patio door and scratch on it, and then we will open it and give her food. And she's learned that this is a good way to get food. And the scratching on the glass is quite perturbing. Get some tunes going here. Is that the split screen position? Do you need to specify which group you are resetting? I gotcha. You don't need to specify a group for resetting the terminal. You're always resetting the group that contains this is a terminal IO output box thing. So you never need to tell it like which group it should affect. It should always affect that one. Let's see. So one thing that I do think actually it's worth doing is let's just make a PR with this being removed. The reason being is because in the most common use case, which is without using the split screen, everything goes back to looking normally to folks. It'll go back to what they expected from 711, which I think is good. We want to get that back to how it's supposed to be, and especially outputting the errors. And not double outputting stuff, not outputting errors when there aren't actual errors. We still have stuff to fix for the case when you are using the split screen, because we are ending up with this weird stuff like we can see on mine now, where we're kind of like, it's cut off in between a line, and we're seeing some stuff, but not everything. Doesn't seem to work when I pass it 320, 240, which I would think it would. So we still have some stuff to fix, but I think overall, with this line gone, the behavior for the majority of people is better. Because most people are not using the split screen yet. But lots of people have CodePy, which will raise an exception, and we definitely want them to see the exception. And we don't want to show them an exception that hasn't actually occurred with the most recent time that something executed. Because that could confuse somebody. If they don't know that it's duplicating, they might go looking for an error that doesn't exist. So I think that behavior is good for like 99% of people. The 1% of us that are on the bleeding edge playing with the split screen stuff, at the current time, it's going to kind of come with the warning of like, there's some wonkiness to it, trying to reset it back to normal. As we can see here, we're having issues. And so that's kind of just like an accepted alpha feature, I would say. But this gets us back to good behavior for 99% of people. So we do that, we see it again, we go break, we go divide by 0. Divide by 0. There's our error. We control C once, it goes up a little bit. We control D, it reruns, it scooches up all the way. We control C, control D again, it's now scrolled all the way off. We no longer see anything about any errors, which is perfect because we're not raising any errors anymore. And we haven't executed the thing in the REPL to do it. So let's PR it like this to get the 99% covered. And then I'll keep poking around at trying to fix it when you do use the split screen stuff. And worth noting that split screen still works as long as you're not trying to do it multiple times, basically. If you want to split screen once and play with it, you can. Because, like, even here, I should be able... Let's try this out again. Let's go from screen splitter, import split screen, import board from display text bitmap label import label import terminal IO. We should still be able to do all of this, I think. So split screen. So far, so good. I'll just keep typing code. Actually, it'll eventually hit the top here anyway. Oh, I didn't set it equal to rat. All right, well, let's see what happens if we do call it twice. Well, seems okay so far. L equals label. Still showing my stuff there. Terminal io.font. Yeah, still there. Okay. So even if you do it twice, you're okay. It's just in the case where we had the code that actually ends, or if you're ever, I guess, trying to get back to full screen, it seems like we do have trouble getting back to full screen. So we're at half screen now. So that's supposed to take us back to full screen as far as I'm aware. And that's where we don't get back. It's weird though. L1? Okay. What is in screen splitter? Because when I do reset terminal by itself, I end up in a weird state. But if I just call this again, we create a group, call show none. We get the root group and we put it in a variable named splash. We show the group that we created, which in this case is empty. We call reset terminal after showing the group, actually, which is interesting. Then splash, which is our root group, we set the y to half. Maybe our y is in the wrong spot. Anyway, like I said though, we'll poke on this a little more. It is interesting that split screen, I was not really expecting it to work the second time, so that part I do think is odd. But again, this covers like 99% of people, and I think is a better outcome for most people. So let's PR that. Maybe we'll find a better solution before we merge it, in which case we'll just get them both. Maybe we'll merge this first, get everything back to working for 99%, and then figure out the remaining weirdness. So let's make a branch and such. Yeah, plain terminal. Okay, so what I want to do is actually, let's check remotes. Let's go get fetch Adafruit. 7.2x, right? I think we're going to want to do that against 7.2x. Do we need to destroy the group to return to full screen or make it invisible? Possibly. I'm guessing maybe that we need to just call... Honestly, I'm guessing maybe we just need to call this again. Display show none, which is basically hiding the group. Destroy/hiding, depending on how you think about it. The old group that we were showing, the display IO group, is what I named it in that REPL. I'm thinking maybe that might be all we need to do, but I do also want to put the PR and then go into the next sort of phase of troubleshooting. So I fetched Adafruit. I want to go get checkout -b. I'll just call this... I'm just going to call it remove start terminal. That's basically what we took out. From Adafruit main, no track, commit. Yeah. Stash. That's fine. We'll make the branch. I shouldn't have made it from main. Yeah, shouldn't have made it from main. So let me go to main. And then let me delete the one I just created. And really I should have done from Adafruit 7.2x. I think. Here, I think this should be 7.2.x. There we go. Yeah, I think that display none probably is what will get us back to actually showing the rest of the REPL. This will fix the current issue, but then it will revert it so that if the REPL is resized, then it won't get reset to the original. Yeah. Okay, maybe we'll see if Dan has any interest in any which way or the other. So I guess actually maybe instead of doing that right away, I'll wait and see if Dan says. If Dan says yes, let's do that, and then we can make the, because I think I don't know exactly when he's trying to do the release for 7.2.0, but I think it's coming up. He's trying to do that like today. Got a little time now. I'll look. Let's see if it's obvious. Okay, so K-Match is looking into it as well. But yeah, we'll wait. Let's wait on the PR. Let's wait on the PR. Let's just keep digging a little bit. What if we look inside of that function that's getting called? Of course, these are all different because I changed branches. Actually figure out where we're at here. So it's going to be shared module, bindings, IO, or go. So this is the line we removed. Start terminal. Okay, two things actually. Let's print the value of these. Well, what do we think they would be? I mean, they would be half height when we move it down. Start terminal. Width. I mean, I have no idea if this is even valid code or not. Wonder if we just did this though. I don't even know if like we can set width and height on these things like this, but because maybe if we do this, then we're not calling start terminal, which means we're not getting the weird phantom stuff, but we are resetting the size, so maybe it goes back to normal. Oh, build has not exploded yet. It's a good sign, probably. Memory usage maps. I remember that on deep dive. Oh, you are correct. Thank you. Actually surprised it didn't blow up before that. Python's got me spoiled. No. Yeah, has no member width. Okay. Can't just set width like that. So what actually happens inside of this? Where do we get this from? Where does this... Set core? Offset of core? Is in the initialization? Yeah. Browser start terminal. Where does it get declared though? I want to see inside of it. This is where with PyCharm ordinarily, like control click, I could control click into this and find it, but it doesn't understand this project because it's a C project. So I can't control click it. What has actually changed here? Right, okay, that makes sense. grep-n, except I should do this in the top level one. Okay, so if display, whoa. Okay, so this is actually in reset terminal. This is the function that we call when we want to split the screen. Then it does if display IO stop terminal start terminal. And it's getting, whoops, we definitely don't want that. It's getting the two values it's using from the ones that get passed. How to implement it, and that's really all it does actually, is just stop, start, passing in those values. If it's on a thing without display IO, it raises, and it just returns none. So is it correct then that there is no shared module portion of this? Yeah, because there's not even a supervisor, I guess. Okay, well, shared module doesn't. Shared module gets declared in the display stuff? Supervisor shared display. Okay. Splitting pixels, total tiles. We might be a little too deep in for my knowledge, truthfully. Terminal construct. So it's getting a height and width in pixels, a width in tiles. Trying to determine the scale based on the width in tiles. Interesting. This is resetting it. It calculates width in tiles, then uses the value of that to determine the scale, then calculates width in tiles again taking into account the scale. Height and tiles, so accounting for the scale. Let's add prints in here and see which one of these actually gets used. One thing though, I don't think I recall off the top of my head the syntax to print. Let's should have one with prints in it. Yeah. I don't work in the core too much. Yeah, this is what I want. This is inside of start terminal. Oh, grid tiles true. False. And then I put this back. That's back to where we're actually at. So let's make a build and then see which one of these gets printed when our CodePy ends. We'll switch back to the CodePy with the error, or maybe we'll go back and forth between the REPL. With the error in the REPL. I don't know. Alright, so we got firmware, loader. Okay, so it printed true. I saw on the screen. It didn't actually make it to here. So let's just go Control C, Control D. And there we got inside start terminal tile grid tiles true. Interestingly, the second time it ran, didn't scroll as far off. The first time it runs, scrolls all the way off? Yeah. But it was still true. It's true the second time, it just doesn't scroll as far. Okay. line 32 size total tiles. Free memory, file grid tiles. That's a null, set reset tiles to true. So one thing that's interesting is this. So we came in here and printed this. Which means we went inside of here. So I guess, did we make it inside of this if? Just kind of throwing print statements in the dark here. I don't know if this is actually leading to anything helpful, but. If. Because what's weird is, so we made it to here. Presumably we made it inside of here, which means we called free memory and we set tile grid tiles to null and reset tiles to true. But then the next line here, we didn't print this, which means that either null doesn't equal not, or else we didn't actually set it to null or something. But again, I don't actually understand necessarily like how C interprets these individual variable if statement thingies. Maybe that's just, maybe this has a different meaning than it does in Python. In Python, it would be like, it would be true if it was not null, and it would be false if it was null. So like, if this is setting it to null or none in Python, then this would equate to true, I would think. Okay. So we're not making it inside of that, because we never got the second print. And so this is asking, is the allocation length different than the align 32 size? So these are the same. I don't know if that's expected or not expected. Okay, bootloader. Um, hmm. Branch to binary. We can't add the new line to this? Basically, it's like it printed the word values with no V twice. But I mean, this should be a number, I assume, right? Location length? Surely that's a number. Okay. So it is printing values twice with the V. Which seems odd to me. They're equal, so it makes sense why we didn't go inside of here. But why would this not be a number? These are the only two places where it appears. It's T. Tags. I don't know. Maybe this is some kind of object that's not expecting me to just print it. I don't know. I will be back in a few minutes though. I'm gonna put the start screen up thing. I gotta run and fold some laundry. The dryer just finished on me here, but I'll come back after that. So I'm just going to put the little waiting thing up, and I'll be back probably 4 or 5 minutes. All right. Back. Laundry is done. I filled up my water also. These back. Okay. Nice. Image thinks they figured it out. So we'll, he's gonna make a PR, I guess, probably pretty soon. And then we'll try that out. Let's go here. Is that coming up? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably. You all can hear that. That's the coffee grinder. Coffee time around here. This is actually the other one which I was going to look at. So maybe I'll do that real quick. Okay, Match is working on a new PR, so let's go. I probably have it already. What is this? Use zlib module. So one thing I noticed is that HPR list, GHPR checkout 6069. Okay. Git stash. I'm guilty of just using git stash to make stuff go away. I really have no intention of ever unstashing that, probably. I should have probably just done rollback or something. I oftentimes just use git stash, though, to make things go away. Okay, I was thinking I would have to delete that branch first, because I had checked this out before, but actually doesn't look like I do need to. It seems like I got it checked out fine now. Let's find something to make sure it's, like, up to date. The latest commits was this, which has this, test CircuitPython zlib decompio. Oh, there's zlib, so that's newer, I think. Shared module, tests, Python. What is EXP? Oh, expected output, I guess, probably. Okay, so yeah, we definitely have this file, which means we should be looking at the newest one. So I don't know why I had it in my mind that I needed to delete the branch or else it wouldn't update, but doesn't seem to be the case. So from here, let's make a build, or actually make a build for the feather TFT. I'm actually going to just spawn up another new terminal here, where it's expressive. I wonder how much work it would be to make this allow board to be lowercase. Probably any amount of effort over 0 is too much to spend on something like that, but I sure would be happy if it was not shouty board. I think I don't actually know the right name. LS boards. Feather Adafruit feather ESP. I'll just copy it. Uh-oh. Oh, the IDF thing? I need to do, what was it? It's like dot space dot slash ESP IDF, yeah, export? Okay, yeah, looks like we got it. That's printing a lot more stuff than I recall it printing before, but I don't know. Probably ignored it before. Download a new CircuitPython. Gotta wait for this to build anyway, so I'll check out the help with here. Downloaded CircuitPython from my Pico, but I want to remove it. Just uploaded Arduino sketch. Got any file that I could use for that? Have to be a UF2. No, well, you would run it with the Arduino IDE. Made this, looks like they got it figured out. Made this connection feather M0. Why I tried to send AT command, receive none. Ground. I don't know. I've never used a ESP. I don't even know what this is, honestly. Is this a ESP32? It's interesting to me that so many things are tied to ground, like GPIO 15 and GPIO 0. All tied to ground? Strikes me as odd, but I don't think I have ever used an ESP with @ commands in CircuitPython. It's crazy how much stuff happens. Make this build 668. Elf section. Read none. Does it send anything back? RX. I don't know. I don't know if that thing sends anything back. Alright, we did get a build, so let's go unplug the Pi portal in the TFT feather. Try to use this teeny tiny little button here. Ew. Bootloader? I like that this has the screen thing on it. I hope that becomes like standard for devices with screens in their bootloaders. Copy. Whoa. That was weird. Yet another new terminal. Go. Auto reload and soft restart are the same length. I have to use the German firmware. Oh, disappeared. Such lost of time. Okay, and so this code actually will now be almost the exact same because the code I left on here was fetching the data, unzipping it, and pulling the one thing out. The one difference since the last time I tested this, though, is that it's no longer uZlib, and instead it's just zlib. And I'm pretty sure everything else is the same. So I'll save that, and I'll go back over to here. Ooh. Did I not build the feather? Oh, okay, I think I built the feather. The TFT feather. But then I think I copied the, I must have had another build of the non-TFT, yeah. I just assumed it pointed me into the directory that I built, but it actually didn't. Okay, and then maybe I won't see the, will I not see the screen in the bootloader either? No, bootloader's separate though, right? Yeah, okay, we do see it in the bootloader. Okay, there we go. So we basically, and since it happens to be pretty much the same device, just without the screen, most stuff worked, it just didn't find the display when it tried to draw on it. What the heck is that USB symbol? Which one? This thing here? Okay. Now we do have... Ooh, no module named zlib. Maybe I misunderstood the most recent changes. Yes, so that thing... I don't know the exact meaning of that particular icon, but in general, all of this stuff that's on the end of my terminal here all comes from a plugin called Starship. Starship terminal. And it's basically showing me the get state. In this case, it doesn't matter because I don't actually understand what the icon means, and so I recognize it as looking different than other times. This is the name of the software. Anyway, starship.rs if you want to try it out. I don't know if it would all platforms or anything. I know it does support Linux, but beyond that, I'm not sure. But it does all of this other stuff. And it's the branch, and I think this is telling me, like, either that it is a branch, or maybe it's telling me something about, like, changes. I know these things change depending on whether or not I have, like, staged changes that I haven't committed or stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know, like, maybe that changes depending on something, or maybe it just is signifying that it is a Git branch, a Git repo in this case with inside of a branch. So I do think we should have probably been able to import zlib, but maybe I got it wrong. Maybe it's actually, or maybe the. So, okay, so I updated this. Using it? Ooh, that still works. Okay, so I don't trust that I built the newest one, even though we saw that file and it was different. Because, like, the specific change that was requested was to rename it to zlib. And this test, in fact, has import zlib, which would fail. Okay, I don't think I got the latest build. I think something went weird here. So what I'm gonna do is back to here. We're gonna go make clean. Oh, I didn't even make the correct one actually. So I thought yeah, okay. I thought I made the right one and copied the wrong one, but the truth is actually I just made the wrong one and copied the wrong one. Just was wrong one all the way. Yeah, I will say, in spite of not knowing what all of the icons mean exactly, I will say the Starship thing is super nice for Git. The fact that it shows me the branch that I'm on right here, this is like 95% of the benefit for me. Just having another reminder, because the other place it shows it is like down here in PyCharm, but this is inside the terminal, so even if I'm like CircuitPython Adafruit. Even if I'm in a regular terminal, this will update itself. It's got a different one here, interestingly. I don't know why those would be different. It's also different on this ending part is blue instead of it knows it's Python on this one. I guess it's because I'm inside of Espressif. That part is different, probably because I'm inside of here. But yeah, showing the branch and then showing these little icons that tell me when I have like unpushed changes are kind of the two things that I get most benefit out with that Starship. But it does this other stuff too, like how long things took, what version of everything you're running, like the version of the relevant stuff. I don't know, this one for some reason it's in here, it's probably a version of Make or a version of Espressif IDF or something, but like out here it thinks it's Python, so it tells me the version of Python that I have. Just like at a glance high level information that is occasionally useful. It's not useful every day. Certainly not useful every time you're doing something, but like 1 out of 50 times or whatever, you'll be like, oh, that doesn't look right. I'm in the wrong directory or something is not right here. It'll just be like a tip to dig a little deeper, and then occasionally you find that, yep, I was in the wrong directory, or I had my virtual environment set up wrong, or whatever. That kind of stuff. All right, so we should now have the right one. So double click again. These buttons are a little too much on the tiny side for me, but with the size of the screen, there's really no room for any other buttons. So like, what are you gonna do? I'm going too fast. There we go, got it finally. Yep, 100% right. Better to have the information and not need it than the vice versa. That is definitely true. That is definitely true. Yeah. It does start, there's occasionally where I'll have a prompt and it's like super long and I'm like, is this really necessary? But it's a minority of the time. Far more often it gives me data that I want than the opposite. And the worst case is it wraps and just looks weird, which is not ideal, but also not a deal breaker. Okay, so yeah, we got the data out now. We have zlib, everything works. I actually built the right thing, I installed the right thing. And it does actually work. Let me check CodePy since we're had a habit of just doing a bunch of the wrong things. Let's make sure we actually updated this. Yeah, so zlib is here. Down here, zlib also. And it worked. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to show this number, which is no longer showing. I guess because it rebooted. There, this number. So that means it definitely unzipped correctly. Yeah. Okay. I'll just leave another note that says I tried this again and it seems still good to me. And the new name is there as well. let me be a touch more specific. I tried out this branch, tried out this branch again after newest commits. All right, we shall see. I'm super stoked about this. Huge thanks again to Mark for figuring out how to do this, to get this zlib, gzip basically functionality, gzip decompressing, moved into CircuitPython and put in the right spot and named the right thing and everything. Let's see if there was ever another new PR here yet. Nope, not yet. Maroni e-ink board. Ooh. Okay. While we're waiting, because I do want to try out K-Match's new PR once it goes up. While we're waiting, I'm going to take a look through issues with the display.io label. And I've actually had my eye on a couple of these. Like a way to collapse all the groups down to a single group that I can then append to. If I collapse the background into a bitmap, I can reuse the background just by making the first append this single bitmap. Yeah. I think I tend to agree with Scott, because we can... Really, I guess what this person's looking for is like... like a combined groups helper function? You give it one or more groups, and it looks in the groups you gave it at all the children, and then like takes them out of the group they're in and appends them into one new group, and then gives you back the new group. So it just throws away all the layers, basically. Flattens you down to a single group with everything, but it can totally be done at the Python layer. There's no available methods for querying the color depth or number of bits used to represent each color in the bitmap. Basically, I'm looking for stuff that I understand and think I have an idea of how to do, because I'm trying to find more stuff that's in the core that I can kind of get my hands dirty with. Both just to get more experience and also because like a merge overlay. Yeah, I think so, C. Grover. Kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I was going to draw a parallel to like HTML, but I don't think it actually fits that well, truthfully. But yeah, basically, you know what I think of it as actually is in like Photoshop or GIMP. I always use GIMP anyway because I don't have a paid Photoshop thing. But in photo editing software, they have layers, and there's like a right click and a flatten image that will take all your layers and merge them into a single layer. That's kind of how I imagine it. Yeah. So basically treating each group as a layer and just squashing them all into a single group, no matter what the structure was before. It's dangerous though, actually, because, well, I say dangerous. What I mean is it could change the visual appearance of something, because you could have one group that's scaled 2 and another group that's scale 1, for instance, the default. And if you squash those together, there's no way you can't have like one thing. You need a second group if you want to have different scales. You can't have a single group with one thing inside of it that's scaled to 2 and one thing inside of it that's scaled to 1. The only way you can do that is if you have more groups inside your group. So you can't just have a single layer with different different scales. So yeah, I guess, I mean, if everything is all still scale 1, then you could do that and flatten it and you'd be all right. But if you are using scales, then you need to keep the in-between groups. Honestly, though, I'm not sure it's going to save that much RAM. Like that thing mentioned, it might save RAM. And it probably will save a little bit, but I suspect not enough to ultimately be useful in most cases. Bitmap Utilities. Yeah, Bitmap Tools is one place where I'm definitely interested in. It's all of the experience that I do have in the core so far has pretty much been inside of Bitmap Tools. So that is one of the places I'm actually most comfortable. So what I'm going to look at is when you create a bitmap, you pass it a... We're going to look at the arguments, basically, I guess is where I'm going. This is Bitmap Tools, though I want display IO, actually. Because if this is just like adding a new property, I think it's actually pretty easy. Relatively speaking. It's easy because I've had some time to play in the core. Took me a while to get to here, but... Because we pass it in when we create it, I think, right? Let's find when we create it. Subscript. I think, is it usually... Okay, yeah, I was about to say, is it usually called make new? I was going to search for that, but we made it to right here. So this does have value count. Let's pull up the docs, too. This is like just a different view of the docs, essentially, is what the code we're looking at is. Oh, docs are not first. Oh, weird. Docs are always on the left in the libraries. Display io.bitmap. Bitmap. I'm paranoid of this page lately. Can I just go to Bitmap? Map saver, simple test. It's weird. Let's go to the bitmap object. I'm not, my like searching ability inside these docs is not very good. I haven't quite figured out the right keywords to find the things. Because like I would have thought display.bitmap would have got me to here, but that it didn't. So let's see here. We pass in value count. And then we can't access it anymore. We can, once we have a bitmap, we can get the height, we can get the width. We can actually get the X and Y as well, which are not listed here. We have blit, we have fill, we have dirty. But there is not like there's not a way to get this value back. Once you put this in the constructor, you don't have a way to get it back out anymore. So it gets stored here, value count. So we would basically make a new one of these things, which would give us a new property. We would call our property value count or pixel depth or whatever it said in the color depth, maybe. I'm gonna try to keep an eye on PRs too, because I do want to try out the K-Match's new one if it goes up. But we would also need to figure out, it would need to store it somehow too. Bits per value. Yet another terminal. Oh, there's another thing maybe we could do one of these days. Subscripting slices. Inside of fill, it does this as well. Okay, this is calling it again, and this is calling it again. Where does it get implemented, though? Here, I guess, okay. It's per value. Yeah. Too much detail, not enough overview, yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. It just has some stuff that counts as, like, part of the text that gets searched that does either shouldn't get counted or should get weighted lower in the search results, I guess, because it found a bunch of like example code that happened to have displayio.group, but it should somehow be able to sort and figure out that the built-in module displayio and the class called group is like should be the first thing it shows, not just example code that uses it. You know, one thing that's interesting is we actually have get bits per value. I want to say this is returning the correct number already. Maybe we just need to hook it up in shared bindings to call this. This is shared bindings bitmap h. Well, it does actually have it here though. Get bits per value. But I guess bitmap C. This just gets used twice. But doesn't exist as one of these things. So let's try this. And I should go back to main. Snowing here in the beehive state. What's the beehive state? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. It was snowing though here like 2 or 3 days ago. We got like 9 or 10 inches of snow. It snowed quite a bit, but it was warm the next like 2 days. Today's the 3rd day, and it's already pretty much melted. So it came and went fast. Nope, no luck yet. We could go find K-Match's GitHub. I don't know if he's pushing. Utah, nice. You got snowing. Hopefully it's not gonna get too bad for you. Okay, so I went back to main, which means that this is all open different stuff. It tracks which files are open per branch, which is cool sometimes, but also not so cool sometimes, because I really wish I just had all the same stuff open again. So it does exist in H, but it doesn't exist in C, which I think is why we can't call it from Python. But adding it should be pretty straightforward. So like we took this, called this, let's call this color depth. Maybe we'll choose a better name eventually, but color depth, and it is going to be read-only. Leo bitmap object get, and then we'll say get color depth. Nothing gets passed in, or I guess this is self getting passed in, which makes sense. Okay, this is accessing the bitmaps object for self, from self, I guess, technically. Then this is saying new small int from calling this, and so this is where we would basically just say call this thing instead. Is it really that easy? Instead of this, we call this. Okay, so let's see, we got a couple more things here. So this is bitmap obj get color depth. But this one is get height obj. Did I do something out of order? Object get height? Get height object. No? Nope. They're just swapped. So color depth. Color depth. Okay. Color depth here. Property. Proxy. Color depth. Okay. Looks like we changed it in all the spots. So this, I think, will make it so we can call it from Python code now. CircuitPython code. Yeah, let's build it on the TFT feather. See if it even builds. It's not something I do a whole lot of, so I wouldn't be super surprised if it actually ends up not building. Let's see. Oh, I got a ping over on CircuitPython. Oh. Nice. There's a new PR now, I think. Okay, match. Minor weirdness with the resize REPL usage. Code done running is printed before. Display none, show display. Let me just pull this over. Solve some issues that were observed. One minor weirdness with resize REPL usage. Code done running is printed before display.show none is called. So if your REPL resizing code finishes the CodePy without a serial terminal connected, you just get blinka and a black screen. If your REPL resizing code finishes the CodePy and without a serial terminal connected. Not sure I follow, actually. That seems... Yeah, I don't think we want to click on that. Okay. So this failed to build, but this failed to build for something related to zlib, which I think Probably we just got kind of like half of this build and half of the other build or something. Try that. And then I'm also going to go try the K-Matches PR, which is up now. And then I'll probably take off after that, actually. Not failed yet. So let's look at what the fix ended up being. I'm kind of curious. So, okay, so instead of using a reset tiles parameter, it's no longer using reset tiles parameter. Okay, this is right around that code that we were playing with. This is where we added a bunch of those prints. So we were like in the right place, kind of, looking in the right place at least. So basically this is checking the values from grid against the values that got passed in. I think these get passed in. Yeah, start terminal, it takes width and height. Well, in pixels though, I guess, yeah. And then it's doing math to get tiles. Takes essentially the results of what got passed in, divided out by tiles, and compares those to the sizes that are in grid. And if they're not the same, then we set reset tiles to true. Otherwise, reset tiles ends up staying false. And then it looks like a bunch of this stuff moved into here inside of a check for resetting tiles. But it looks like mostly, it looks like mostly the same math to me. All of these things just are here now. Okay. So we were pretty close. We were looking in the right area. I'm pretty stoked about that. Again, because I was kind of just poking around in the dark, so the fact that I happen to be even remotely close to the right area, a good sign to me. So this build did succeed. Let's copy it. Cannot copy. Right, because we're doing that thing where this directory got deleted because of build clean or make clean, but the terminal doesn't realize it. Terminal gets stuck in like a empty folder that no longer exists. Even though there is a new folder with the same name, it doesn't know that it's still in the old one, which is gone. I don't know where it's actually at. It must be in a temp spot somewhere. Surprised it doesn't freak out about being inside of a folder that doesn't exist a little more than it does. Okay, yeah. I was about to say, did I do the one that wasn't the TFT again? Alright, so we'll go here. This one is closer to the actual finished thing than a test, where the other ones I just have test in the name. So to test our color depth, what I'm going to do is grab the most basic bitmap boilerplate, which is going to be here. somewhere. Display here. Draw pixels is the most basic example, probably. And then we'll change this up a bit. Well, no, actually, this is display size. 2 colors. I don't know how big the screen is. Okay. So this drew 1 pixel and 1 rectangle. There's 1 pixel there on the left, and then there's a rectangle, which is coming from the for loop here. So the real test is now print bitmap color depth. No, it does not have object color depth, so we didn't hook that up right. I think is there more down here? There's like other stuff down here. Yeah. Yeah. I think without those, it has to get added here for Python to be able to see it, actually. Curious if that worked, but I do also want to get back to the PR, so whether or not this works, I'm going back to the PR. If this does work, that'd be cool, though. I'm not sure if it's going to give us the right number. I don't know if that bits per pixel function that we found is actually returning the right number. Might be a slightly different number than the one we're interested in. Bootloader mode. Dang, got 8 inches of snow. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Ours was like pretty much just snowed all day. Pretty not like super fast, but just consistent all day. And it built up to quite a bit. Luckily though, it was like 50 degrees the next day and like 60 degrees the next day after that, so. $6077 is what we're going to check out. Loader binary. Okay, that over. Okay. It does not look like it crashed. I can see on the screen that it drew its stuff, so the fact that it didn't crash, I think, means, yeah, we got there. So we get this from it. Which I think represents, I'd have to play with this with some other numbers. Like if this was 4, Yeah. So I think this is the number of bits that it takes. Yeah. I think this is giving us the number of bits that it takes to make this many different colors. So we would need to... Oh wait, we jumped there though. I would have expected that to be 3. 3? Is that right? Maybe not. Maybe it is 4. Anyway. Those are not just directly related, the exact number. It's something to do with the amount of bits it takes to represent that number, I think. But let's test this PR. Pixels. We did add the property though, and it's calling that built-in function which didn't used to be exposed. We're on the right track. I'll just stash or make a branch. I could always like let me make a branch, git checkout. Oh, I don't know why this is different. Or either of these either. Maybe it's to do with like main versus 72x or something? This is really the change we want though. It's the only change we want. Okay, foamy guy, bitmap color depth. Yep, that's where I want to push this. So now this is there, I can come back to it later. GHPR checkout 7077? Or was it? It's 6077, isn't it? Yeah, must be 6077. Yeah, can match trial REPL. Oh, what is this? Your branch is behind and can be fast forwarded. Pretty up to date. I don't trust that I have the newest one. What I'm gonna do is actually go back to main. This maybe this is what I was thinking of before when I said I thought I had to delete that branch. Delete that. Clear. Check out. There we go. Now we're just on trial REPL with none of the extra stuff. No extra prints. We don't like extra prints. All right. So let's build it. We'll just go back to PyPortal, I think. Water cup does this thing where water will get up in basically the threads where the lid screws on, and it will stay in there until you tilt it to drink a little bit, and then it will come out. But there's only like a tiny little bit in there, however much it can hold in between the threads. So it's like sneaks along for the ride and then spills out on you when you take a drink. Switch back to the PyPortal here. And I'll put it in bootloader mode. This folder is going to do that thing where it's gone, so we might as well do this. I don't know if it's actually created yet or not, though, so I'll wait to cd into it. Wait for the... Yeah. Still trying to help this person read from the CSP. Alright, so we got a firmware. We can cd here. And copy to the PyPortal. See what... Still have the for loop that prints 3. Yep. So already we're looking good. Well, we're looking better because we didn't scroll as far. I'd say already we're looking pretty good here. So far so good, let's say at least. Code, let's open that. Yeah, so we just have that. This is what we expect so far. It just restarted and it still looks pretty good. I go here, number divided by 0. Error, Control C one more, it goes up by 1, Control D, goes up further, C, and then back to D. Looks good. We don't see any error. Yeah, all of our text that rolls off at the end of the line continues correctly, so auto reload is on. Simply save files over USB to R for run them, or intel REPL to disable. This one here, Control D to reload, wraps around right. And so I can go Control C, Control D. We don't ever see any divide by 0 stuff anymore. Unless if I actually divide by 0, and then we do. But it goes right back scrolling away as soon as I Control C and Control D again. So yeah, this looks good to me. I'll try, I guess, this, although I'm less concerned if this still has weirdness. From screen splitter import split screen. Import board from fruit display text import bitmap label import label import terminal IO group equals split screen board display. Okay, good so far. L equals label terminal font half and half. Scale 3 display IO group dot append L. Okay, there's our label. L.Y, we'll just move it down some. Good. Over. Yeah, Control D went back to running, which went back to full size. So yeah, I think we're good. I guess the one other thing I will try is the that script that had no loop. This one? This was, yeah, this was the original test code that Kmatch wrote, which is just a run through once and do stuff, but no looping. And so what we saw before was at the end of this, it stayed half and it moved to the top. But what we hope to see this time is that it will go back to full size and occupy the full screen when it's done. Right now it's half and half, which is what we want. That's how it's supposed to be. Does this, printing, new lines, ending, there we go. And now we're back to full size because our Blinka is up here. And if I go enter, where I in range, 10, print, hello, format, hi. Yeah, scrolls all the way to the top now. We definitely have full size. It's definitely going back. I'd say we're good. Image mentioned what? There was code done running is printed before display.showNone is called. So if your REPL resizing code finishes the CircuitPy and without a serial terminal connected, just get a Blinka and a black screen. The serial without a serial terminal connected. Yeah, I don't know. Even after rereading, I'm still not sure I follow exactly the state, but maybe still some open issue depending on what order you do everything. But for most of people's use case, which is the error, I guess one more thing actually that we'll test is print hello, and then v equals this. Try this because we should still see the error. Yeah, which we do. Perfect. Okay. This is the most important one to fix, is like when there is an error, we want them to see it. The second most is like when there's not an error, then we don't want them to see the error. Here it got scrolled up, it's gone now. Even if it was still visible on the top line, that's okay. Just the fact that it scrolled past. Before it was like right in here, which is where we expect the new output from our new code. So split screen still seemed alright to me, but it does sound like maybe there is an ongoing issue to do later. But this does look good to me. So let's go back to here. Here. Oh, there's a new test code. I think this is the same. We might as well try it. Okay, here's the, there's some, it's a good thing we'll copy this over. There's some code in here that references the issue that KMatch noticed. I think this is going to start out the same though. Oh, it's side to side this time. Or it's a quarter. Look at that. Whoop. Yeah, because it put X to display width over 2, and then it resets back to full size. All right. But it occurs after the REPL is reset. Code done running? Maybe KMatch is saying because we lose this? We don't have code done running? We are still, I mean, we are still in the REPL. I don't know. I think it's okay. Like, as long as we can still see the error. I mean, code done running doesn't really tell you that much. It tells you you made it to the end of CircuitPy, I guess, but you're going to know you made it to the end of CircuitPy even without seeing code done running because you see this. Pressing the key to enter the REPL. This also gets shown at the end, so I guess basically what's happening is this is getting printed maybe before it resizes back to full, and therefore it's no longer there once it's resized. Just a guess, so that could be wrong, but that's kind of my guess, but not a big deal at all, I don't think. Let's say CodePy that does. Okay. So the other one is CodePy that splits the screen. So I'll put that back up here. CodePy that contains screen splitting and doesn't have a loop. Screen split works normally. And terminal returns to normal full size after code.py completes. There we go. Review. So Hug Report definitely TK match for making this functionality originally, but also fixing this issue with it. Big thanks there. Thank you to Dan also, who is looking into this with us. I'm probably going to head out for now. I'll get back to that bit depth stuff in a little while at some point. That was that open issue. We added the property, but I'll have to figure out like if we need to keep a new variable or if we want to like try to raise 2 to the power of whatever that number is, and then maybe that gives us the right number. Or what? I don't know. I think that this actually might, while we're here, I'll point this out. I think this might actually play into 2 different issues. One of them, so the one I was looking at was where? Well, we're not in display only. Let me go display IO. Depth. Okay. This was the one this is what I was looking at. I think that this might actually play into another issue too, though. I think this one I created. Yeah. So what I noticed here was that the number you pass into the constructor doesn't get enforced all the way. It doesn't get enforced like as you might expect. Let's put it that way. Because you put 3 here, so you would expect like we have 3 different colors that we're allowed to use. So their indexes are 0, 1, and 2. But what we find is that we can actually set it to 3, which should be index out of bounds, but it does work. And then finally here we get, you know, the equivalent of index out of bounds. But it's not one-to-one the way it scales up. Like if you set it to 5, then you can actually go all the way up to 15 before the error shows up. So I think once we have value count or color depth, whatever it ends up being called, once we have that as a property, I think that helps us fix this as well. Because inside the setters, we check that property and we say, hey, this number you passed us is too big based on our color depth. Therefore, we raise this right away instead of like, once you get too far high enough, then eventually we start raising it. Anyway, I don't know if I described that very well, but I think those two issues will end up actually kind of working together. So once we have the first one, I think it will ultimately lead to a solution for this one. But I'm going to head out for now. So thank you to everyone who has watched. Should it work on a matrix portal? Yeah, the split screen stuff, if that's what you're talking about, it should work on a matrix portal as far as I am aware. Yeah, I think matrix portal doesn't have built-in board.display, so you would have to like import the matrix portal library, and then there should be like matrix portal.display, I think, a display object on there. That would be the one that you would pass to split screen. Although I don't know if my split screen code actually, if I published it anywhere. Are you trying to use that split screen specifically? Yeah. Let me throw that on Git. Yeah, for sure, Johnny. Thanks for hanging out. And for moderating the YouTube chat as well. Try to get that hooked up for this weekend. Yeah, I'll just dump it in a GitHub for now. Let's just go new repo. Let me search actually. Let's see if I made this before. I'm gonna make a new one if I did already. I've been meaning to publish this anyway, so I'm happy to take a minute here and split. Yeah, okay, so I don't have it. So let's go. I'm not going to do cookie cutter or anything. I'm just going to upload the raw thing, just bare bones. So eventually it'll get added to, but this is enough to at least get going. And it will work. It should work on the matrix portal. One thing I will mention is, yeah, there's not a whole lot of room, so you can't see too much of the terminal, truthfully. One other thing to watch out for on the matrix portal, well, just generally, if you want the latest version, right now you'll have to build, like from this PR. Does it fail? Screen is blocked? No. Okay. Oh, it does have one. What does it say it failed? I'm like a rabbit. Or a squirrel. I wish it was easier to look through this list and find the failing one. Oh. Probably just, I don't know, too big or something in one of the small builds. Oh. Okay, yeah, I think this is just transient error or whatever. Like it tried to pull something from apt, just failed. Hiccup in the network or whatever, I think caused that. Okay. And yeah, that's true. Indeed, I have. Terminal, you are on top of it today. Ain't no getting things past you. Let's go here. Open. There it is. Yep. Yeah, I don't remember. I kind of trailed off probably in thought when I got distracted by the last thing. But if you do want to use the screen splitter stuff, you'll either need to wait for this PR to get merged, or you will want to build from this PR. Or just be aware that the weirdness that I saw before will be happening to you as well. which is actually fine if you don't care about switching back and forth too much. Screen splitter. I'm not going to bother changing the name. Eventually this could be CircuitPython Screen Splitter or something. For now, I'll just upload it like this though. And then the way you can just check back in the stream if you want to see how to use it, but it's basically just import it, call it, and then pass the display function. And by default, it splits vertically in half. So we'll go add that, push, Control K. Yeah, for sure. You have a nice day as well. Origin? Yeah, I guess Origin, I haven't renamed it yet. There we go. All right, there's that link if anybody's interested. Thank you to everyone who watched. Definitely thank you again to Kimmatch and Dan, Dexter, Gordy, Johnny. Appreciate all of you. I will be back on Saturday for sure. I don't know about before then, possibly. You can follow me on Twitch if you want a notification, if so. But definitely Saturday morning, 10 a.m. I'll be back then for sure. So catch you next time. Thanks.